Hi dear students, as I told you that today before going to start the session, we will have a quick revision of the topics which we have completed. So in this chapter 3 Plant Kingdom, we have completed mainly two topics, Algae and Bryophyta. Algae mainly divided into how many classes? Yes, which are they? Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae and Rhodophyceae. Based on which criteria they were classified mainly? Yes, first of all, based on the pigment, based on stored food. So like that the criteria were taken into consideration for classifying algae into three main classes. So Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae and Rhodophyceae. Then came to the topic that is Bryophyta. In that we have learned it's divided into two, liverworts and mosses. So today we have to start with the topic that is Pteridophyta. But before going to learn that topic, we have to revise the topic of Bryophyta from the material. Please all of you take out the material, page number 65. Bryophyta. So what were points we discussed from the textbook? Apart from that, some relevant informations or important points which are covered in this material and can be expected in our entrance exam. So you have to learn it very carefully. So we are going to start with the topic Bryophyta. The term Bryophyta was proposed by Robert Brown. See that? The term Bryophyta was proposed by whom? Robert Brown. The study of bryophyte is known as bryology. What about the study of algae known as? Yes, phycology. And here, study of bryophyte is known as what? Bryology. Hedwig is considered to be the father of bryology. So, who is considered to be the father of bryology? Hedwig. But, according to some scientists, it is believed that Cavers is the father of biology. So, here some opinion difference. That is, some of them are considering Hedwig as father of biology and some other scientists believes that Cavers is the father of biology. But father of Indian biology is Professor Shivaram Kashyap. So here father of Indian biology is, who is that? What's the name? Professor Shivaram Kashyap. So these are some points which we have to understand, we have to remember. Now we are going to learn about the general characteristics which we have learned from the textbook. So let's say that if some other points there, so that will be explained in detail, otherwise we can see quickly. Bryophytes are the first land plant. This point you have to underline. So which are the first land plant or terrestrial plant we can say? So bryophytes are the first land plant. It is believed that they originated from aquatic plant and they come on land through water. So what is it believed? It is believed that bryophytes originated from aquatic plant and they come on land through water. Because some bryophytes have characters similar to aquatic plants. For example, presence of air canal. So because of that characteristic, it is believed that bryophytes originated from aquatic plant and they come on land through water. But anyhow, first point or first characteristic which we have to understand, that is bryophytes are the first land plant. Second point, bryophytes are known as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Why? It was discussed. Because these plants can live in soil but are dependent on water for fertilization. I think this point is clear for you because it was discussed from the textbook also. Next point, bryophytes are not considered as the successful land plant. See here, first point we told they are the first land plant, then we told that they are the amphibians of the plant kingdom, and now we are saying that bryophytes, even they are first land plant, but they are not considered as the successful land plants. Why? What is the reason behind that? Because vascular tissue is absent and they need water for fertilization. Because of these two reasons, bryophytes are not considered as the successful land plant. So, which are the two reasons? First of all, vascular tissue is absent. Second, they need water for fertilization. So, due to the absence of vascular tissue, bryophytes cannot grow very tall. The process of water conduction in bryophytes takes place with the help of parenchyma, and parenchyma is a living tissue. So that's why bryophytes are not considered as the successful land plants. You have to understand that point. Roots are absent in bryophytes. True roots are absent. Even when we are discussing from the textbook, even in the examples and the diagrams, we saw that root-like structures were mentioned, rhizoids were mentioned. So here we are saying roots are absent in bryophytes. Stem-like and leaf-like structure of bryophytes are functionally similar to the stem and leaves of higher plants. So they are not having true root, true stem and true leaf. What they are having? They are having stem-like, leaf-like structure, but functionally they are similar to stem and leaves of higher plants. Bryophytes are cyophytes. That is, bryophytes are cyophytes. Very important, underline that. So why we are calling bryophytes as cyophytes? Otherwise, what do you mean by cyophytes? So bryophytes prefer to grow in moist, wet and shady places. That's why they are known as cyophytes. They prefer shady places. The plants which prefer to grow in moist or shady places are known as cyophytes. So bryophytes are coming under the category of cyophytes. Now when we are coming to discuss regarding the life cycle of bryophytes, the main plant body of bryophyte is haploid. It was already discussed. The main plant body of bryophyte is haploid. That means what? Gametophyte. It produces gametes. Hence it is called gametophyte. So the main plant body of bryophyte is the haploid gametophyte that produce what? Gametes. They produce haploid gametes. That's why they are known as gametophyte. 6 organs are formed on gametophyte. 6 organs are multicellular and jacketed. That jacketed means what you have to understand. That time it was discussed. They are protected by a covering that's known as jacketed. Male 6 organs are called as antheridium and female 6 organs are called as archegonium. Archegonium is flask shaped. So once again see. The main plant body of bryophyte is haploid. It produces gametes, hence is called gametophyte. 6 organs are formed on gametophyte. 6 organs are multicellular and jacketed in bryophytes. Male 6 organs are called antheridia and female 6 organs are called archegonium. Archegonium is flask shaped. The male gametes of bryophytes are motile. These motile male gametes are called as antherozoids. And antherozoids are usually comma-shaped and biflagellate. Female gamete is called egg. So the third point once again see. The male gametes of bryophytes are motile. These motile male gametes are called as antherozoids. Antherozoids are usually comma-shaped and biflagellate. Female gamete is called egg. Now, in Bryophyta, fertilization is performed by zoidogamy. It's very important point is there. In Bryophyta, fertilization is performed by what? Zoidogamy. That is, male gamete swims into water to reach the female gametes and fertilizes it. It's a very important terminology is there. You have to understand. What we are saying here, in Bryophyta, fertilization is performed by what? Zoidogamy. What do you mean by zoidogamy? Male gamete swims into water to reach the female gametes and fertilizes it. As a result of fertilization, a diploid zygote is formed. From the diagram you can understand that here the male sex organ, which is known as the antheridia, because we already told that the gametophyte produces sex organs. So male sex organ is known as antheridia and female sex organ is known as archegonia. Male sex organ which produces male gamete, that is known as antherozoid. Female sex organ which produce egg, and these two fertilizers, that's known as zygote. It's a diploid zygote. Now we have to understand here what happened. As a result of fertilization, a diploid zygote is formed. But the zygote does not undergo reduction, division, meiosis immediately. This zygote initiates the sporophytic generation, and the sporophytic generation is a diploid stage. As it is not undergoing meiotic division, so it is having a diploid stage, that is zygote. And then after you can see here, zygote formed embryo and then sporophyte by mitosis, which is known as sporangium. What is it known as? Sporangium. And here, zygote formed embryo and then sporophyte by mitosis, which is known as sporangium. Some of the cells present in capsule of sporophyte function as spore mother cell. What is it known as? Spore mother cells. Now meiosis takes place in spore mother cells. Result of it is the haploid spores. So first of all we have to understand the zygote is formed, and in that mitotic division happens and embryo is forming. Then after it is formed as sporophyte. From that sporophyte, some of the cells, that is known as spore mother cells, which undergoes meiotic division and form haploid spores. And the germination of spores is direct or indirect. In liverworts and hornworts, the germination of spore is direct. That is, each spore forms a gametophyte after germination. That is, each spore forms one thallus. So here the germination of spores after meiotic division of spore mother cells, whatever the spores are forming there, and it is germinating as a plant, as a thallus directly in the case of what? Liverworts and hornworts. But the germination of spores in mosses is indirect. Once again see, but the germination of spores in mosses is indirect. Means you have to understand, in mosses, a multicellular filament is formed after germination of spore. This filament is known as protonema. We discussed in the textbook also when we were explaining that time. Two stages are there, protonema stage and leafy stage. So here we are telling that the germination of spores in mosses is indirect. In mosses, a multicellular filament is formed after germination of spore. This filament is known as what? Protonema. And now buds are formed on protonema. Each bud develops and form a gametophyte plant. So what is forming then? Buds are forming, and each bud develops as what? A gametophytic plant. And indirect germination is burst for survival. For survival, which is burst? Indirect germination is burst. Mosses are gregarious in nature because they appear in group. Mosses are gregarious in nature because they appear in group. So not, one point is given here as a note, you have to understand. Protonema developed from spores is called as primary protonema, and the protonema developed from parts other than spores are known as secondary protonema. Please underline the point what we are saying here. Protonema developed from spores is called as primary protonema, and the protonema developed from parts other than spores are known as secondary protonema. Actually, what are protonema? We discussed that the germination of spores in mosses is indirect. In mosses, a multicellular filament is formed after germination of spore, and this filament is known as protonema. So here we are saying protonema developed from spores is called primary protonema, and the protonema developed from parts other than spores are known as secondary protonema. Sexual reproduction in bryophyte is oogamous type, and life cycle is haplodiplontic type. So what we are saying here, Sexual reproduction in bryophyte is oogamous type and life cycle is haplodiplondic type. Haplodiplondic means you have to understand it's an intermediate stage. That is haplodic and diplondic stages equally in there to complete the life cycle. In Bryophyta, the sporophyte is dependent on gametophyte. This is a unique character of Bryophyta. Underline the point. In Bryophyta, the sporophyte is dependent on gametophyte. This is a unique character of Bryophyte. So, depending on gametophyte by sporophyte is a unique characteristic of Bryophyta. Now, Bryophyta is divided into 3 classes, which was not discussed in our textbook. We were learned about 3 mainly, that means 2 classes only, the 2 divisions only, that is liverworts and mosses. But here we are going to learn that Bryophyta is divided into 3 classes: Hepaticopsida, Anthocerotopsida, Bryopsida or Musae. So, which are the 3 classes? Once again say the name: Hepaticopsida, Anthocerotopsida, Bryopsida or Musae. First one, that means in the textbook what we have learned regarding liverworts and mosses, but one more is coming here, that is hornworts there. So, these are coming under these classes: Hepaticopsida, Anthocerotopsida, Bryopsida or Musae. So, first one is Hepaticopsida or liverworts. Bryophytes included in this class have shape like liver. So, from the name itself you can understand liverworts means they have shape like liver. For example, Mergantia or flat. Once again see the point. Bryophytes included in this class have shape like liver or flat. So, liver like shape, that is in the case of Mergantia, and flat in the case of Rixia. So, they are known as liverworts. So, why liverworts are known as such? Once again listen. Bryophytes included in this class. Which class? Bryophytes included in Hepaticopsida or liverworts have shape like liver, as in the case of Mergantia, or they have shape of flat, that is in the case of Rixia. So, they are known as liverworts. Second point, plant body of this group is thallus-like and dorsiventral, dorsally and ventrally flattened, pressed to the substratum. Plant body of this group is thallus-like and dorsiventral. Rhizoids and scales are present on thallus. Rhizoids means root-like structures. Rhizoids and scales are present on thallus. Rhizoids are unicellular and unbranched. That point you have to understand. Rhizoids are unicellular and unbranched, and the scales are multicellular. The leafy members, as in the case of Porella, have tiny leaf-like appendages in 2 rows on the stem-like structures. So, when we are coming to the example of Porella of the class Hepaticopsida or liverworts, actually they are the leafy members. So, the leafy members have tiny leaf-like appendages in 2 rows on the stem-like structures, and the sporophyte of liverwort is completely dependent on the gametophyte, that is, it is dependent on gametophyte for food, water and habitat. We already told that unique feature of bryophyte is the sporophyte depending on gametophyte. So, as in the case of same the class of Bryophyta, that is Hepaticopsida. So, we are seeing that the sporophyte of liverwort is completely dependent on gametophyte, that is dependent on gametophyte for food, water and habitat. The sporophyte of liverworts is made up of foot, seta and capsule. Once again see that the sporophyte of liverwort is made up of foot, seta and capsule. Except Rixia, sporophyte is made up of only capsule. Their foot seta portion is not seen, only what is present in the case of Rixia. So, if the exceptional case is asking of sporophyte of Rixia, we have to understand in that case only what is present, capsule. What is not present, foot and seta are not present. Now, 2 letters are present in sporophyte of some members of liverworts, for example, Mergantia. Elaters are hygroscopic and they help in dispersal of spores. That means they are absorbing water, and that's why the spores can be dispersed. That's why they are known as hygroscopic. True elaters are present in sporophyte of some members of liverworts, for example Mercantia. So elaters are hygroscopic and they help in dispersal of spores. Example of liverworts: Rixia, Mercantia, Cryptothalus, Porella. All these are the examples coming under which one? True elaters. That's the example of liverworts. Which are the examples? Once again see that. Example of liverworts: Rixia, Mercantia, Cryptothalus, Porella. In bryophyte, sporophyte of Rixia is the simplest. So in which one the simplest sporophyte is present in the case of bryophytes? That is of Rixia. Now asexual or vegetative reproduction in liverworts takes place by fragmentation of thalli or by the formation of specialized structures called gammae, singular gamma. Gammae are green multicellular asexual buds which develop in small receptacles called gamma cups located on the thalli. I am speaking this speedily, explaining speedily. The reason is that some of the points whatever we have explained from the textbook as such it is given. So for extra points given, that will be explained in detail. So this point was already discussed in our textbook. When we are coming to the topic of reproduction in the case of liverworts, we have to understand asexual reproduction or vegetative reproduction in liverworts takes place by what? Fragmentation of thalli one. Other one, what was that? Yes, by the formation of specialized structures called what? Gammae, and the singular is gamma. And how gammae are? They are green multicellular asexual buds which develop in small receptacles called gamma cups located on the thalli. And the gammae become detached from the parental body. They are separating from the parental body and germinate to form what? New individuals. Example, Mercantia. During sexual reproduction, male and female sex organs are produced either on same as in the case of Rixia or on different thallus as in the case of Mercantia. Here in the figure you can see both are different given. Mercantia, in that male thallus is separate and female thallus is separate. And in that sex organ you can see in female thallus archegoniophore is there, and in the male you can see antheridiophore is present there, and gammae cup you can see there. So here in this you can see that gametophyte, the main plant body, haploid it is there, and the sex organs antheridia and archegonia, they produces antherozoids and egg, and the diploid zygote is forming. It is not undergoing immediately mitotic division. It is staying for some time as the diploid stage, and then it undergo mitotic division and forms embryo, and from that sporophyte is developing. From that sporophyte, some of the cells that is known as spore mother cells undergoes meiotic division, and from that haploid spores are forming. From these spores they are germinating and forming as the means which one? Protonema. What they are forming as protonema. Okay, and now we are going to discuss about second class of bryophyta, that is known as which one? Anthocerotopsida. From the textbook we directly told that two divisions we have to learn. It is divided into two, that is liverworts and mosses. But from this material we are learning in detail that first of all bryophyte is classified into three classes, that is Hepaticopsida, Anthocerotopsida and Bryopsida or Musae. So Hepaticopsida commonly known as liverworts, and then Anthocerotopsida, that was not explained in the textbook. So here it is extra given, you have to understand. Anthocerotopsida, hornworts. The plant body of this group is also thallus-like as in the case of liverworts. Scales are absent, but there it was present, but rhizoids are present on thallus. So on thallus, scales and rhizoid both were present in the case of liverworts, but in the case of hornworts, what is only present? Yes, rhizoids are present, but what is absent? Scales. And rhizoids are unicellular and unbranched. The sporophyte of hornwort is divided into foot and capsule. There it was foot, seta and capsule, but here it is how we are saying foot and capsule. Seta is not coming there. The sporophyte of hornwort is not completely dependent on its gametophyte, but there it was completely dependent because they were depending for what? Food, water and habitat. So here we are saying that as in the case of hornworts, the sporophyte of hornwort is not completely dependent on its gametophyte. That is, it is semi-parasite, partially depending there because its sporophyte is photosynthetic. Therefore, it can manufacture its own food. So, no need to depend for food. So it does not depend on gametophyte for food. It depends only for water and habitat. That's why it's known as semi-parasite. So the difference you have to understand between liverworts and hornworts. Liverworts completely parasitic or completely they are depending. The sporophyte is completely depending on gametophyte, but here in the case it is a semi-parasite or partially depending because they are able to synthesize the food by themselves. So for food they are not depending, only for water and habitat they are depending. In hornworts, at the basal part of capsule, a special type of meristem is present. Due to the activeness of this meristem, the capsule grows rapidly. It grows like the horn of animals. That's why the name it has got hornworts. There it was liverworts with the shape because of the leaf-like structure, otherwise liver-like structure or flat structure. So they got the name what? Liverworts. But here what happens? In hornworts, at the basal part of capsule, a special type of meristem is present. Due to the activeness of this meristem, the capsule grows rapidly. It grows like the horn of animals. So obviously the name got hornworts. Example, Notothilus anthoceros. The name of the class itself is Anthocerotopsida. So here the example also given, Notothilus and Anthoceros. Here one note is given, pseudo-elaters are present in hornworts which help in spores dispersal. Here it is not the well developed, so we are saying that pseudo-elaters, and the elaters were present in the case of, true elaters were present in the case of Hepaticopsida or liverworts, and pseudo-elaters are present in the case of hornworts. But anyhow, both the cases they help in spores for dispersal. Now the last class that is coming, Bryopsida or Musae, or commonly we can call it as mosses, as we learned in the textbook liverworts and mosses. So here we are coming to that is coming under the class Bryopsida or Musae. All the mosses are included in this class. The plant body of mosses is made up of stem-like, leaf-like and rhizoids or root-like structure. So all the mosses are included in which class? Bryopsida or Musae, or we can call it as mosses. The plant body of mosses is made up of stem-like, leaf-like and root-like structure that is known as rhizoids. The rhizoids present in the plants of this class are multicellular, branched and obliquely septate. Once again see that the rhizoids present in the plants of this class are multicellular, branched and obliquely septate. Septa is the division is the partition is there. Now, the presence of leaf-like structure in gametophyte is the unique character of moss because in plant kingdom, any gametophyte do not have leaf-like structure. So, very important point, in the case of mosses, in the case of class Bryopsida or Musae, the presence of leaf-like structure in gametophyte is the unique character of moss because in plant kingdom, any gametophyte do not have leaf-like structure. That's a unique characteristic of Musae or mosses. And they consist of upright slender axis bearing spirally arranged leaves. Vegetative reproduction in mosses is by fragmentation and budding in the secondary protonema. You have to understand the protonema is secondary. During sexual reproduction, sex organs are produced at the apex of the leafy shoots. During sexual reproduction, sex organs are produced at the apex of leafy shoots. Vegetative reproduction in mosses is by two processes, fragmentation and budding, and that were the secondary protonema. The sporophyte in mosses is more elaborated or developed than that in liverworts. The sporophyte of moss is divided into foot, seat and capsule. When in the case of liverworts also we told that liverworts sporophyte it's made up of foot, seat and capsule except rhexia. But in the case of hornworts we told that it is divided into foot and capsule. But when coming to mosses as compared to liverworts, they are highly developed than liverworts. The sporophyte of moss is divided into foot, seat and capsule. The sporophyte of mosses is also semi-parasite like that of hornworts. That is, it is photosynthetic. The mosses have an elaborate mechanism of spore dispersal also. So, except liverworts, other two, that is in the case of Bryopsida and even Anthocerotopsida, means the hornworts, they are known as semi-parasite because they are able to do photosynthesis, and that's why there is no need to depend on food for gametophyte. Means they have no need to depend gametophyte for food. Now one note is given here. Peristomial teeth are present in most sporophyte which help in spores dispersal. What is present? Peristomial teeth are present in most sporophyte which help in spores dispersal. So here example of moss is given. Funaria, in the figure also you can see gametophyte and sporophyte both are given. In the case of gametophyte you can see leaf-like structures and main axis is there, rhizoids, that means root-like structure, and setae is there and capsule is there. So this portion is known as sporophyte and the rest portion is known as gametophyte. Anyhow sporophyte is depending on gametophyte, but they are semi-parasite because leaves are present, obviously they can prepare the food by themselves. But for habitat they are depending that. Okay, so they have to depend for water and habitat. So here example funaria, rock moss or cod moss or green moss. What they are known as? Rock moss, cod moss or green moss. Next is polytricha. That's known as commonly hair cap moss. Next is Buxbaumia, saprophytic moss. Photosynthesis absent. It's an exceptional case. As we are saying that mosses, they are photosynthetic. But in the case of mosses, one example is there Buxbaumia in that saprophytic moss, but photosynthesis is absent. Now related to sphagnum when coming from the textbook also, when we are discussing regarding sphagnum, some important points we have discussed. Sphagnum gametophyte, the figure is given. You can see archegonial branch is there and the radial branches are there. That means male and female sex organs are present and the radial male sex organ and even means a female, that is archegonial, both the branches are present there. In the case of sphagnum, bog moss, it likes to grow on acidic bog and it's known as quacking bog. Carpet moss or tough moss, it spreads like a carpet on bog due to which the swarm cannot be easily seen. So here carpet moss or tough moss, it spreads like a carpet on bog due to which the swarm cannot be easily seen. Peat moss, it is a fossil fuel that obtained from bog. The formation of peat takes place by the fossilization of sphagnum. Once again see peat moss. It is a fossil fuel that obtained from bog. The formation of peat takes place by the fossilization of sphagnum. Sphagnum grows in acidic bog. The number of bacteria are less in bog due to which the degradation of dead cell could not take place. It's a very important point. Sphagnum grows in acidic bog. The number of bacteria are less in bog due to which what happens? Degradation of dead cell could not take place. Hence it is present in the form of fossil. Absorbent cotton. Sphagnum can absorb water in very high amount, therefore it is used in the form of absorbent cotton in Europe. Even we told that for the transshipment it is using, as it is having water holding capacity and it is absorbing the water is not entering inside the material. That's why we are using in transshipment of materials. Bryophytes in general are of the little economic importance, but some mosses provide food for herbaceous mammals, birds and other animals. Species of sphagnum or moss provide peat that have long been used as fuel, and because of their capacity to hold water as packing material for transshipment of living material, mosses along with lichens are the first organisms to colonize rocks and hence are of great ecological importance. They decompose rocks, making the substrate suitable for the growth of higher plants. Since mosses form dense mats on the soil, they reduce the impact of falling rain and prevent soil erosion. So all these points, this paragraph, it was as same as given in the textbook. So we have already discussed, we have learned that point there. So anyhow students, today we have completed the topic regarding bryophytes from the material. So as compared to textbook, many extra points were given that we have to understand, because many of the questions from this topic can be asked in our entrance exam. So now, anyhow, thank you so much for listening this session. Now next session, we are going to learn about Pteridophyta. Once again, thank you so much.